Late last year, Paula Leather suffered nearly 300 wounds at the hands of her husband, a husband of 40 years. This mother of three screamed for help, and although her neighbors could hear her cries and the ongoing struggle, they didn't call for help. In fact, the Echo reports that the neighbors heard fighting at 11 p.m. They heard a woman screaming out repeatedly, "George!" They heard thuds coming from inside the home, and they heard grunting from a man. Well, let's open an investigation. Several days after her murder, Paula's attacker, her husband George, appeared in the Liverpool Magistrates Court, where he pled not guilty of the brutal slaying. Testimony from his brother would reveal that this killer confessed the murder to him, telling him that he was so covered in blood that he decided to take a shower before making the phone call to report the murder. Well, at the crime scene, police were unable to identify Paula because of the horrible mutilation that she endured. It included more than 100 wounds to the face and head, another 200 wounds to the body. Multiple knives were used in this homicide, and some of the blades were actually broken off inside of her body. Well, for the second time in a week, I am pleading with you, my listeners, to please listen to Profiling Evil's broadcast with Dr. Ramani on the architecture of a narcissist. You can see it in the link above. And then when you're finished listening to that one, would you please go over and listen to the interview I had with criminologist Jane Monckton Smith? It's titled 8 Stages of Domestic Violence Homicide. Again, you can follow the link. Folks, rarely will domestic violence situations improve without dramatic intervention. This case once again highlights how dangerous these situations are. These perpetrators rarely only punish the intended victim. Family members and loved ones are forced to carry the scars of these traumatic episodes for the rest of their lives. Well, now, as Paula's children are attempting to pick up the pieces after this violent assault, they wrote a beautiful tribute that I wanted to share just a couple of lines from. They said, in part, "Our gorgeous mom has sadly been taken away from us in the most tragic of circumstances. Paula was beautiful inside and out, so kind, so loving, and she was the person that there was for everyone. She was there for everyone. She was a beautiful soul within her community, and her smile would light up the world." The only solace I find in this case is that the perpetrator changed his plea and finally admitted to the guilt in court, accepting an indefinite restraining order which prevents him from ever seeing his children again. This 60-year-old convicted killer was sentenced to life in prison for his crime. That's a good thing. Judge Minari spoke plainly to this convict when he described him as obsessive and controlling. The judge went on to say, quote, "Frankly, it is impossible to overstate the level of violence you used, a feature of this case which is bound to have a profound and lasting effect on her family. Those survivors are going to suffer from this event." And then, in a surprising move, the judge, in my opinion, injured this already injured family by stating that while George is sentenced to prison for life, he can apply for parole after a minimum of 18 years. What on earth is that about? What have we done wrong in our lawmaking? And of course, this is lawmaking in the United Kingdom, folks. We have our own problems here in the States, as do every country in some regards. Well, here's a question that I have for all of you. What would you do if you heard violent fighting in the apartment next door? I'm going to look for your comments down below. And while you're at it, I want you to answer another question. Would you have the courage to suggest to a friend who's experiencing domestic violence that they seek help? I hope you would. So please remember, there is a cadre of professionals that are available to help people in these kinds of situations. And if you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence, please reach out to your local police department, your medical or your mental health provider. Get some help. Well, I hope you'll take a moment, hit the like and the subscribe button, and join Profiling Evil's family. That way you're going to get updates like this one today, and you'll know my thoughts on criminal cases happening around the world. So thanks for listening to Profiling Evil, and we'll see you soon at the next crime scene.